Well, good morning, you guys, and welcome to my channel. I am Crystal, and this is Homemaking on the Homestead. And today I'm doing a little coffee with Crystal with you. I just seem to, keep doing a lot of those lately, but in some ways they're just working better for me right now with so many different things going on. So just a quick reminder, these videos are pretty chatty. I like to share what I've got going on in my kitchen, which I'll share that with you in a minute. And I just find them easy to do because it's a great way for me to get things done and make good use of my time and sit down and have a nice conversation with you all, because I enjoy that. And I appreciate all your feedback and just sharing daily life as homemakers and encouraging one another. I love it. So today, aside from showing you what's going on here, giving you a few updates on life, I am going to talk a little bit about time management and redeeming the time. And let me first start by showing you what I got going on over here in my kitchen. So I have everything ready to go to make some breakfast burritos. I have scrambled a little over 2.5 dozen eggs. I have cooked up 3 pounds of sausage. I just cook it up all at once. If I don't use it all in these burritos, which I probably won't, I will just freeze the cooked sausage for other uses. I have about 1.5 bags of hash browns that I fried up. The half bag was just sitting in my freezer, so it was a good chance to use that up. I have a bag of cheddar cheese that I pulled out of the freezer last night to defrost. And I have a package of tortillas. This has about 20 in it. We'll see how far I get with that. I buy these from Costco, and they come in a 2-pack, so altogether you end up with 40 tortillas. They freeze well and last for quite a while in my freezer. So that's what's going on in my kitchen today. I'm not much of a breakfast eater. In fact, I almost never eat breakfast, and that's the way I've been for years. But my husband's a big breakfast eater, and he likes to have breakfast. And when he first retired, I was making him breakfast every morning, and then found that it was just a lot easier if I had food already prepared for him, and he could just warm it up in the microwave, or, like the granola I was making in the last video or a previous video, just something for him to be able to get easily. I also last week made a batch of mini waffles, which you've all seen me do in past videos. I put those in the freezer. We buy already cooked sausage patties, so he can easily just put a breakfast together for himself, and that works great. While he's doing that, I'm usually having my quiet time, and then after that, oftentimes I will spend time working on editing videos early in the morning, and that type of stuff before I kind of get going on with the rest of my day. So that is why I'm doing the breakfast burritos. I have a lot of eggs there and a lot of sausage. Like I said, I'll freeze a lot. I'm not sure. I just tend to make up a bunch of everything, assemble the burritos, and just keep assembling until I don't have any ingredients left. Any of the main ingredients, like the eggs, for sure. Anyway, okay. Another life update for you. I still haven't gone to California to see that precious new grandbaby I have, and there are a lot of reasons why. One big one has been the weather down in California. So I don't know if you've heard any news. Maybe if you're on the East Coast, it's not as relevant, but California has been slammed by winter storms that have been totally unexpected. I have a friend that lives in Redding, and she shared a picture the other day of ice-covered trees, something that I don't think happens too much in Redding. Redding's very hot and doesn't usually have that type of thing. She also told me that I-5, the main highway down, has had several closures in that mountain pass, and so we have to get through that mountain pass. So that has been one thing that's delayed us. Today I wanted to talk about time management. It's been something on my, I write down ideas of things that I want to talk to you about, and time management is one of the topics that was on my list. I've done videos on time management, so I'm basically not going to redo everything I've already done. And there's a lot of things on good time management have to do with many of the things that I talk about all the time, having planners, having a routine, having schedules, and things like that that make the best use of our time. So I'm going to move beyond that and talk about a few different things. One of the things that came to my mind was the scripture verse on redeeming the time. And what does that mean? I think redeeming the time is to make the most of the time that we have. Redeeming means also to exchange one thing for another thing. So, that's kind of the idea behind redeeming the time. But let me read the scripture verse. I have it here on my phone and I want to share it with you. And this is from Ephesians 5, verse 15 and 16. Be very careful then how you live, not as unwise, but as wise, making the most of every opportunity because the days are evil. That is the NIV version of it, and it is the original King James version that begins by redeeming the time. So it is that same concept, though, of making the most of how we use our time. The other verse that I think about with this is from Psalm 90, verse 12. Teach us to number our days that we may gain a heart of wisdom. I think, we have to be careful about how we use our time and to use it to the best of our ability. It is easy to squander away a day of doing nothing. And I'm not referring to like a rest day, because we all need rest days as well. But to have a day where you just don't know where to start, or you haven't figured out what your goal is, and by the time you get to the end of the day, you just didn't really do anything. And if you have days like that, because I know I certainly have, if you have days like that, don't you just feel yucky at the end of the day? It's like, wow, I didn't get anything accomplished. It's very discouraging, I think. And I think that in the end, the answer for that is for us to, be busy and to always have that plan and that goal for the day. And when we're looking for ways, to keep busy and what direction should a homemaker go, I think it's, again, if we go now to Ephesians verse 14, and this is referring to young widows. And it says that they get married, bear children, keep the house, or manage the house, give no opportunity for the adversary to speak reproachfully. And I think that that's also a great guideline for us, because obviously he wasn't just speaking to widows, because otherwise it would be the only ones doing that would be young women that have been, widowed, and they're the only ones doing that. No, what he was saying is that do what the rest of the young women are doing. And I know some days are, can be a little more challenging than other days, when it comes to keeping busy at home. And it's not just keeping busy at home. Some people have very well-meaning things. They work in the church. They, have jobs that are a great encouragement to their life. But when we are at home and we do spend days at home, that is where I am at as an empty nester. That I'm obviously past childbearing, I'm past all those things. And now my goal, on a daily basis to use my time wisely is to be productive and to keep busy doing the things that I believe that the Lord would want me to do. And all you have to do, again, I mentioned this in another video, go look at Proverbs 31. You'll see a woman that is doing all kinds of things to keep busy. And those are great guidelines for us to follow in how we redeem our time. I was thinking the other day, too, that sometimes we wake up and we just have no motivation. It's like, we can't seem to put one foot in front of the other. And we are relying on that motivation for that day to do those things. I wanted to share something that I think is really important, and it's something that I have had to focus on many, many times when I go through periods of lacking motivation. And that is to understand the difference between motivation and discipline. There are times where we have to say, no, despite how I feel, I'm going to move forward, because this is the wise use of my time. This is the best way to redeem my time, is to do these things that I need to do. and not wait for motivation. One thing I found is that oftentimes motivation will come once I start making those first steps. I've shared several times my mother-in-law's saying of the first 5 minutes of any job is the hardest. And I believe that because after you use the discipline, start the job, 5 minutes later, you're moving, you're going, and you'll find that the motivation will come at that point. So today's just quick. I think I have like 3 tips to give you on time management that came to me this morning. Was number 1 is to know how you're spending your time. Look and see how you're using your day. Find places in your day that you could improve the use of your time. I remember reading the book when my children were being homeschooled. It was one of their required history reading books. It was called Up From Slavery by Booker T. Washington. And what really impressed me the most about that book is that he appreciated his freedom so much, and the fact that he could get an education, that he had his days very structured. And he realized he had 20 minutes in his day where he didn't have anything to do. And it was like 20 minutes between classes or something. And in that time period, he began a debate club with other students. That always impressed me so much, just to think that somebody was so dedicated and so disciplined to using their time wisely that they looked at 20 minutes as a gap that needed to be filled. But it encouraged me to, really examine how I was using my time, where I could use it better, and how I could structure my day better. The other thing is multitasking. So I think multitasking is good. It has its good points and it has its bad points. So its good points are that you can get several things done at once. For instance, right now, I'm filming a video. I've been working on burritos. When I'm done talking to you, I'm going to go back and start putting those together. So I am doing 2 things at once. So that multitasking is making progress. That's the good point. The bad the bad side of multitasking sometimes can be is that we are just literally going around our home and our jobs, and we're just taking stabs at things. We're just taking a stab over here. I'm going to organize this closet. You pull everything out, and then something else comes up. It's like, oh, I need to get that dinner in the crock pot. So you go to the kitchen, and then you start putting the dinner in the crock pot. And then the dryer beeps, and you're like, oh, let me go grab that load of laundry. And then by the time the day is done, the closet is still disorganized. You haven't finished the rest of the dinner preps, and the laundry still hasn't been folded, or there's laundry sitting in the washer that hasn't been moved yet. So multitasking can be something that does not save you time. So be very careful about how you multitask and what you do. If they are simple jobs that allow you to just step in, do something while something else is going on, then it's going to work in your favor. So just be cautious of multitasking. It can be a great time management tool, or it can be not so great. Okay. The last one I wanted to share with you is benchmarks. And I created this idea in my own mind, at least. I'm sure it was out there, but of how to schedule my day back when I had a house full of kids. I still use the same method. There is a lot of people who like to schedule. At 8 o'clock, we're going to have breakfast. At 9 o'clock, we're going to, start the household chores. At 11 o'clock, we're going to prep for lunch. And so they have these very structured schedules in order to keep themselves on track. That never worked for me because my days could have all kinds of things going on, especially when we had animals, and I might plan that between this time and this time we're going to do this, and then all of a sudden I've got a sick goat, or I have goats that got out, and now everybody in the household chasing after goats and fixing fences, and now the whole schedule for the day is just, it's gone. So what I created, I created it for myself, like I said. So what I started utilizing is what I call benchmarks. And these are things that I take from my day, like certain time frames. So by noon, these are the morning things that I want to have accomplished. These are the most important. These are the secondary things. So for me, having my house straightened up and orderly, that's an important thing. Having a load of laundry going if I need to do it, that's an important thing. Noon is my first benchmark. So as long as I've gotten those things done by noon, I feel like my day's on track. Now I can add more to that, but then if something else comes up, I just go back to what are the basic few things that I need to make sure I get done in the morning before noon. The next benchmark could be 5 o'clock. By the time I get to 5 o'clock, I want to make sure that all my dinner preps are done, and my kitchen has been cleaned up. I can keep my dinner warm in the oven or reheat things in the crock pot, or in the microwave, but I tend to like to get my dinner made earlier in the day. We eat probably between 6 and 7. So that's why by 5 o'clock, I just like to make sure everything is done and my kitchen's back in order. And by 9 o'clock, I have things that I want to make sure 8:39, that's about the time I tend to go to bed, and so I want to make sure that my kitchen floor has been swept, all the dishes have been washed and put away, and all these little nighttime routines have been done by my bedtime benchmark. I found this to be a lot more productive in my day when I just look at benchmarks rather than having a strict schedule to follow. So benchmarks for me have been a really good time management tool. And then I think also the last thing in time management, in this video, is to remember that we can make the best plans in the world and then something comes up and changes those plans. And I think we just need to go back to Proverbs for that. That's another one. Proverbs 16:9. A man's heart plans his way, but the Lord directs his steps. So sometimes our plan may not be the Lord's plan for us for the day, and we have to roll with that, because that's going to ultimately be exactly where we need to be on those kinds of days. All right, you guys, I got some burritos to make here, so I'm going to end this video, and I hope it encouraged you, and I would love to know any of your personal time management tips or how you deal with your time. How does that work for you in your life? Is time management something that you're working with, or is it something that you feel like you're doing pretty good with? And let's all remember today to redeem the time, be busy, and work heartily unto the Lord. So, all right, you guys, love you, and thank you all for being here. Don't forget the like button, and subscribe if you haven't. I'll see you guys all in my next video. Bye-bye.